Hey, how's everyone doing? Just about to do a solo episode, which is going to be titled Don't Prejudge Your Patients. So, I'm just getting warmed up, about to do, this is the podcast, but I'm doing the video at exactly the same time. So, because a lot of the times when I'm actually doing a solo episode, most of it is sort of scripted. I've got a lot of it written out and I'm sort of reading through it. So I don't like doing a video where I'm sitting there with notes and I'm looking down the whole time reading it. So I thought, but this particular episode, I am going to just be talking off the top of my head. So therefore, I don't need notes and I can do the video. So it looks like I can actually look at the camera at the same time. So I'm just going to dive into my normal introduction for the podcast and take it from there. If you listen to the podcast, you will only hear from this point onwards. Okay, here we go. Hi, I'm Tyson Franklin, and welcome to this week's fucking, I stuffed it up. Sorry, I'll do that again. See, now you get to see all the errors. I make a lot of errors when I'm doing podcasting as well. Hi, I'm Tyson Franklin, and welcome to this week's episode of the Podiatry Legends podcast designed to help you feel, see, and think differently about the podiatry profession. Today is another solo episode, and I'm going to be talking about don't prejudge patients. Now, how this came about, during the week, I do a monthly session with my podiatry business Spartans group, and we were talking about how to handle price shoppers or bargain hunters. And there's 6 different types of patients that we identified, but we focused in on bargain hunters. When we were going through it all, I told a story about 2 particular patients that came in, and I said why you shouldn't be prejudging and why you should treat everybody exactly the same. Don't assume that a bargain hunter or someone that's shopping around is a bad person, because there's certain things about what they may say which will indicate that they're not. So anyway, that's a completely different story. That was for the Spartans group. But one of the Spartans, who shall remain nameless, said, I think you should do this as a solo podcast because the information is really, really important. And I'd love my team to hear it. And also, I think a lot of other podiatrists would benefit from it. So I told the story about why you shouldn't prejudge your patients. Now, I'm going to tell you the 2 stories. So I had a lady that came in, very well-to-do, well-dressed, beautiful hair. She had the makeup, the jewelry. She turned up in a Mercedes-Benz. And we're running through the whole consultation like I normally would. And it got time to explaining the treatment. And the treatment was going to involve making a pair of orthotics. So I ran through all the costs. And when I explained it to her, she sort of looked at me and went, oh my God, there's no way that I am going to pay that sort of money for those things that you put inside your shoes. Now, I'll point out she was also a real estate agent, I think a real estate or a lawyer, whatever it was, she was earning pretty good money as well. And that sort of took me by surprise of her reaction. Anyway, she left. She decided not to get orthotics. It's not my problem. My job is to explain the treatment. Then hopefully they will understand and I've educated them the right way. So next patient that came in was a lady who worked part-time at the local primary school, or might have been high school. And she was a cleaner, worked 2 or 3 days a week. And she wasn't the greatest dressed. And yeah, there were certain things, her car was a bit more not as new. So anyway, she sat down, explained the problem to her. We did the whole evaluation as we normally would. And instead of prejudging thinking, because I've just had this other patient that looked like they could afford it, say no, the automatic reaction sometimes is to go, I don't think this person can afford it. And I think it's really bad to be judging people that way. So I went, you know what? I said to the voice going on in my head that was saying, she probably can't afford the treatment. Shut up and just explain it exactly the same way you would explain it to anybody else. And that's exactly what I did. Now, her response blew me away. She said, okay, so it's going to cost this, this, and this. Well, I've got, and I told her as well as just the orthotics, I said, the footwear that you're wearing at the moment are really bad. You need to change the shoes. And she said, okay, no, that's fine. She went, so what if I got 2 pairs of orthotics? And I said, what do you mean? She goes, well, because I work at the school, my shoes get wet. I know I need new shoes, but what I was thinking, maybe I should get a pair of new shoes for work and put a pair of orthotics in there and get another pair of shoes from you and have another pair of orthotics that I wear when I'm not at work. And I'm going, so you want to organize 2 pairs? She said, well, yeah. So I explained the cost of 2 pairs of orthotics, 2 pairs of shoes that we sold in our clinic at the time. And she said to me, well, you know what? I haven't been saving my money for no reason. The reason it's there is to make sure I look after my health. Now, she came in, paid cash for everything. She got the orthotics, they were fitted, her problem went away, and everything was fantastic. But I learned a really, really important lesson that day to not prejudge your patients. Don't assume just by the way they're dressed or their occupation or whether they are in a health fund or not in a health fund. So I know we used to keep a lot of statistics in our clinic, and there were certain podiatrists that work with me that I know that if they had a patient who was in a health fund, their conversion rate or explaining certain types of treatment to that patient was always much higher than the person who wasn't in a health fund. And when you looked at certain statistics across the board with the different podiatrists, some it was really obvious that they obviously explain things differently to the people who are in a health fund. Now, of course, someone who's in a health fund, they might be going, well, I can pay for it because it's going to be less out of pocket. But when I looked at my own stats, yes, there was a slight difference, but not as big a difference as what it was prior to this actually happening on that particular day. So I think even myself, at a certain point, I was prejudging patients and I was making the decision for them. I wasn't giving them all the information or all the treatment options. I was prejudging them. I didn't explain what the most expensive was. I would sort of dumb it down for them, thinking that was what was going to suit them. But what I found out over a period of time, what you're best to do is explain the best treatment to your patients. Do not prejudge. Now, when they tell you that they can't afford it, if that's the case, then you may also have a payment plan organized some way that they can actually pay it off. That's a different story again. We can talk about that at another time. But explain the best treatment first and what you think. If it was your wife or your partner, if it was your child, if it was your parents, I always believe, how would you treat them? And however you would treat them, that's how you should treat your patients. And that's how you should explain the treatment. And that was how my thinking changed. I started saying to every patient, I didn't care background, occupation, what they looked like, car they drove. I'm going to explain the same treatment that I would if it happened to be someone in my family. And from the day of doing that, I think my thinking, the words that I use, I think how I approached patients changed in a very, very positive way. And the outcome was also really, really positive for the patients. So I hope you take that on board. If you know yourself when somebody walks in, and of course I know if somebody walks in your clinic and they're bare feet, and to me straight away, when someone walks in and they're not wearing shoes, it's disrespectful to start with. To me, that'd be like turning up at the dentist, eating a meat pie, and then expecting them to actually look at your teeth. Disrespectful. So there are certain patients that I think, yes, you can prejudge them, because if they're disrespecting you right from the start, then so be it. You don't need to be treating them. It's like, as I always say, it's your business. And if you're working for somebody else, just remember, if you're listening to this and you know your boss doesn't listen to podcasts, or your employer, your boss, that sounds terrible. If your employer doesn't listen to podcasts, have this conversation with them. Are we prejudging patients at certain times, or has this happened in the past? And I will guarantee everybody listening to this at one stage or another in their podiatry career has prejudged a patient based on how they look, the occupation they have, the car they drive, the clothes they're wearing, and how they talk. And sometimes you'll be surprised. The patients that you think will say yes and look like they're ticking all the boxes, that their life is so great and they can afford everything you're explaining, are going to say no to you. And there'll be other ones that you think, oh, there's no way they're going to afford this, will just immediately say yes, because they understand the importance of looking after their health and looking after the feet, and they respect what you do as a podiatrist. So, like I said, I hope you get something from that. As always, love your feedback. If you want to send me an email, please, tf@tysonfranklin.com. And that is pretty much it for me this week. Just remember, we do have the Podiatry Business Owners Club over on Facebook. And and go to my YouTube channel, Tyson Franklin. This is where I put videos. And this particular podcast, there is a video that I'm shooting at exactly the same time while I'm doing it. So there's a bit of a preamble at the beginning. So once again, look after yourself, look after your family, and I will talk to you again next week with another solo episode. Okay, see you later. So that is another wrap on a podcast. That's how I basically do it. It's nice and simple. I like these ones where I'm just sort of freewheeling a little bit, where I don't actually have anything planned other than I just wrote down a note saying, don't prejudge patients. That was pretty much it. So yeah, I hope you enjoy this video. And like I always say, if you're ever have any questions, I'm a very easy person to get hold of. Just send me an email, tf@tysonfranklin.com. If you ever want to know anything about one of my marketing workshops, the next 12-week reboot when it comes up, which is pretty freaking awesome, please just send me an email. We can even organize a Zoom chat and just have a talk. Tell me what you want to do. And if you've thought about doing one-on-one coaching, same thing. If one-on-one coaching sounds like something that you think, I've thought about doing it, but I'm not sure, send me an email. We can have a quick Zoom chat or just a phone call, and we can basically discuss it. So, okay, hope you enjoyed the video. And I'm probably going to do more of these videos because I actually think they're fun to do as well. And I apologize for swearing at the beginning. Okay, bye.